So, guys, I want to talk about AEW World's End, and definitely this World's End means a lot more than the one last year because, quite honestly, AEW has had the worst year in its entire year in 2024, really. So, they really need to set up a lot of really strong creative directions, and it definitely comes down to match results. And every match is actually towards a championship, so it does feel like a night of champions. That's what happens when you are in a company that prioritizes having way too many belts. But also too, like, whoever becomes champion, that has major implications of the future of AEW. So I'm going to do my predictions, and I'm also going to talk about as well, am I looking forward to the match or not. So the first thing that I want to say is that I don't like this about AEW, which is that they have 8 matches on the card, but automatically, they're going to have a kickoff show, so they're going to throw in a few other matches. And I also feel that another bad thing about this show is that they spent way too much time on the Continental Classic. The belt does not mean anything for the entire year. It's not a belt that elevates people. It's just another belt. It would just be like if the end of the year in WWE they had the Intercontinental title be elevated, or like the US NXT title or something like that. Really, the Continental Classic belt does not mean anything, and you kind of see that that's something that's an issue that they created last year. So. You spent so much TV time on this. You could have spent more TV time on Private Party. You could have spent more TV time on a match that should have happened on the card, which is Willow Nightingale versus Marina Shafir. That would have been a really great match. So, or another match I would have had was that you do a Royal Rumble type of thing, and you have all the losers of the Continental Classic throw each other out of the ring, really, and the winner of that match will face Jon Moxley face the winner of the AEW Championship at either the New Year's show, or the Australia Grand Slam show, or I think they called it the Colossal show or something like that. Like that's the Cincinnati special show, whatever the fuck they called it. So without further ado, I want to go over all these matches. So the first one is Will Ospreay versus Kyle Fletcher. This is a very controversial match because of two things. That, well, number one, if Will Ospreay loses, that's not good for him because he is losing a little too much, really. But you get a better story out of Kyle Fletcher winning. And also the other issue with Kyle Fletcher is if he wins this match, it's going to be Kyle Fletcher versus Okada or Ricochet, and you automatically have 3 heels. So heel versus heel is never really a good mix. So my prediction is that it's going to be Will Ospreay versus Kyle Fletcher. And Will Ospreay is going to win this one. And I think he's going to win the Continental Classic. That makes the most sense. He's lost a bunch of times. This will reset him. And if you want to do a final match, what I would do is at AEW Grand Slam, Kyle Fletcher versus Will Ospreay, 2 out of 3 falls. For the Continental Classic title, you give it to Kyle Fletcher, and they don't touch for over a year. That would be the way that I would do that. So I predict Will Ospreay because he's lost way too many times. He feels a little nerfed, so this would help him out a lot. And it makes sense because he's a babyface. So there's 3 heels in all this. So I really think that that's what they're going to do is Will Ospreay. Versus Kyle Fletcher. The next match is Okada versus Ricochet. And this is another very hard match because the problem is that Ricochet can benefit a lot if he wins this match and be a top heel for AEW. And Okada is going to lose some relevancy if he loses this match. Because after he loses this, what do you do with Okada? Because, one thing they can do, and one thing that's a bad idea that I think is going to happen, is you can have Okada go home, and then he and the Young Bucks come back, and then they're the heroes to take out the Moxley faction. And that's not something anybody wants to see because, the Young Bucks have already killed the tag team division. This kind of feels like if Jeff Jarrett stopped the Aces and Eights in in TNA Wrestling, or you have Vince McMahon come back and he stopped the new bloodline. This is not going to be helpful. But I think in my prediction, I would 100% say that I think Ricochet is going to win this one. And I think the reason why I say this is because Okada is not a strong enough heel. Ricochet has a lot of attention on him. So you're going to have the top babyface in all of this versus the top heel in all of that. And that makes the most sense, really. A guy just giving the middle finger and a guy who says the word bitch, that is not somebody who should be holding a title. Where Ricochet, he's entitled. There's the Hurt Syndicate that's interested in him. There's a lot of creative directions. And now he's kind of being arrogant and full of himself. And obviously with a heel faction like the Hurt Syndicate, wouldn't they want that? And wouldn't they want somebody with a Continental Classic title? Ricochet, you can bring that to Japan. He could bring that to other countries where AEW does other shows, and then the Hurt Syndicate can give international beatings after Ricochet wins matches. So I really think that Ricochet should win this. And then that kind of brings me to the finals. So as I said, it'll be Ricochet versus Will Ospreay, and this will be good because now you had. This is part 3, the final thing you guys do with them. So I think that, as I said, I think the problem is that Ospreay is kind of like the top babyface in AEW right now. So I really think that, it would be important to put another title on him. And then what you do is that you take that title off of him in Grand Slam, because you need to kind of have him have a winning streak. You need him to kind of, actually not lose all the time a little bit, because he's kind of gone down in credibility, really. I think that if you have Ricochet have a great match with him, they do a lot of banger stuff, that's going to really sell the pay-per-view. And like I said, that Okada versus Ospreay will not be a good match for a couple of reasons. Like I've said before, that I think that that Okada wrestles a little bit slowly. I would rather see Okada versus Kenny Omega as a match. I think that that's the match that they should have, really. So they need to put Okada down that direction, really. But I really think that if you have Will Ospreay versus Kyle Fletcher, part 3, and then you wrap it up at Grand Slam, because they both have wrestled in the Australia, New Zealand area, that's a good way to end their issue. And that would actually be kind of like the feud of the year for AEW. That would be great for them. The next thing that I will say is that, Ricochet, he could definitely bounce back, and he can go after another title. What about Ricochet versus Daniel Garcia? He wins that, or Ricochet and Shelton versus, Daniel Garcia, or, for another title, another title as well, really. So there's other things that Ricochet can do. But to kind of reiterate, I think it's going to be Will Ospreay beats Kyle Fletcher, Ricochet beats Okada, and Will Ospreay beats Ricochet. And I would say that with all these matches, yes, I'm looking forward to it. I think that 2 Will Ospreay matches is great for AEW because he's a really great wrestler. He's a great storyteller. You're not going to see another AEW pay-per-view in the U.S. until March. The next pay-per-view that they have is in mid-February. Most people are not going to watch it because it's going to be in Australia time. That means 5 a.m. For the Americans. So it's one of those things, really, that I think 100% that I would, if I was a betting man, that I think that having 2 Will Ospreay matches is going to be good for the AEW for this pay-per-view, for this buy rate. The next match that's announced is the Fatal 4-Way between Moxley, Orange Cassidy, Adam Page, and Jay White. So I think that Moxley's going to retain, but I don't think that that's a good idea. I think the person who should win this is Adam Page, because the problem is that Orange Cassidy does not take himself seriously. Jay White does not know how to talk in the microphone. Um, Adam Page right now, I feel, can be kind of like that Austin type of babyface. You know, he's kind of like the bad guy and the good guy, really. And you have to end the Death Riders. They've been losing a lot of ratings. This has not been good. And there's two outcomes this will lead to that are bad. You can wait such a super long time for Bryan Danielson to come back and gain the title. So what are you going to do? Are you going to have Moxley hold the title for like a year until Bryan Danielson comes back? Or are you going to do something like say, okay, this is not working, this is killing our ratings. So at Revolution, we're going to have Darby Allin versus Jon Moxley. So this thing that's been killing ratings is going to go on for almost 5 months, really. And that's a very dumbass decision. And I think they need to do a title change. But I really think that they're too stupid to realize this. And they're going to keep it on Moxley. And then, like I've said, I think that at the Fight for the Fallen show, they're going to have FTR versus Moxley and 3 people on that. And that's not what they should be doing. Moxley needs to lose his title. The Death Riders, it needs to go away. Like I've said, I think one thing they can do is have Jon Moxley lose the title. You have Hangman Adam Page gain the title, and then you have Christian cash in on Hangman Adam Page. And then what you do is you have another match saying that for all the losers of the Continental Classic, you do the over to the ropes thing, and then you have Claudio versus Christian Cage, and you save that for either the New Year's show, or you save that for that Cincinnati show. That's how I would do that, because you can't do 3 different champions in one night. And I think for Christian, you got to see what he can do. And I would not mind. And as I said, the title needs to come off, really. And then you can have Claudio as kind of the leader of the Moxley faction. I can create a little bit of a drift, really, because that would be the best thing, really. But I think that 100%, if I'm a betting man, I would like to see Jon Moxley. I would bet money on Jon Moxley retaining. It's the wrong decision, but AEW is known for making a lot of wrong decisions this year. As far as match excitement, I would say that I'm very excited for this match, and I would love to see what they do with this. Because, like how they do Fatal 4-Ways, how they do, like, these DQ and these, like, crazy feats and all this stuff. They do that very well in AEW. So it's going to be an off-the-wall type of match. The next match is MJF versus Adam Cole. There's 2 things about this that I want Adam Cole to win this, because MJF cannot be the Dynamite champion every single year. There has to be a point where he loses that, because it becomes like the $1 million championship. There's no prestige if one person's holding that thing for so long, really. But it makes the most sense for MJF to win. I think MJF is going to win. Also, Adam Cole's not that good of a wrestler. He's too slow and limbering and whatever, really. So I don't think that it's going to be a good match. I think what's going to happen is Wardlow's going to come back, and then Wardlow and MJF are going to become a faction. And that would be what I would do. And I would say that next year you can have Wardlow versus MJF and in a steel cage, and that's where he holds the Dynamite Championship, and then you push Wardlow in 2026 for the AEW Championship. And next year I think Wardlow and MJF will make a great tag team. But that's my prediction. MJF is going to retain, and Wardlow is going to interfere, and that's going to lead to them becoming a tag team. And I think that's the best option, really. I think that a bad option would be Adam Cole, because, like I said, he doesn't have good matches. He wrestles too slowly. And it's almost like, who's he going to feud with after MJF, really? I think that if he loses, then what Matt Taven and Mike Bennett and him could do is become a trios team, and then try to win titles and try to have some prestige and something like that. The big thing I'm looking forward to with this is that I really want MJF and Adam Cole to end. That this is kind of the big thing we get out of that. They've been wrestling for they've been having a feud for about 18 months. It's way too long. It's not helping anybody. MJF needs to have feuds with other people. He can help other divisions. He can do a lot of really great things, really. So I really, really think that like they're smart enough to understand that giving it to Adam Cole or any continuation of this is going to do nothing more than hurt AEW. So MJF should win this. This should lead to MJF and Wardlow becoming a tag team and running crazy on the tag team division and making new baby faces and bigger stars in that division. That's what they need to do. But I hope that happens. I have a premonition that's going to happen, but I think it's very important to very, very important to articulate that. The next match is Mariah May versus Thunder Rosa, a Tijuana street fight for the Women's World Championship. So I think Mariah May is going to retain, but this is a bad thing because I think that, she's not done a lot with the AEW Women's World Championship. I really think that, Harley Cameron should face Mariah May at one point and maybe win it. Like, Harley Cameron's kind of like the underdog because there's something about her humor. There's something about her putting on these performances that's appealing. Like, she kind of comes off as the underdog, maybe someone who can go from a silly wrestler to a more serious, charismatic type of wrestler. But I think Mariah May is going to retain because they want to get to Mariah May versus Toni Storm because Toni Storm is from New Zealand, the Pacifica area. If I'm Oceania or Pacifico, if I'm saying correct, I think it's Oceania area. So they're going to do Mariah May versus Toni Storm at Grand Slam. And once again, that's not good because Toni Storm is doing a gimmick of having amnesia and she's going to become Timeless Toni Storm again. This is a little too repetitive. This whole entire Sunset Boulevard Starlit Diva shit, they've done that for such a long time, I believe over a year, that we need something new. Thunder Rosa holding the title would be a new thing. You could have Marina Shafir attack her, and then have Marina Shafir run wild on the women's tag team division, on the women's World Heavyweight Championship division. So, let's try to do something new here. I look forward to this match because, Thunder Rosa and Mariah May have very great hardcore and crazy shit type of matches. It's something I'm looking forward to. But I'm a little worried in a way because definitely the Fatal 4-Way match is going to have a bunch of hardcore stuff. So you may want to open the show with this. Get it out of the way, make people kind of miss this. Or this has to be the second match on the card. Because you don't want to do something like you don't want to have these matches too close together, right? Because people are going to say that's a little repetitive and all that. The next thing that I want to say is, if I'm not said it already, I'm happy that they have 8 matches. I think they're going to add more at the last minute, really. But 8 matches is good because this is showing AEW has some restraint, really. They're not going to have this be a 13, 14 match card, really. So I'm proud of them for doing that. But I look forward to all these 6 matches so far. The next match is Konosuke Takeshita versus Powerhouse Hobbs for the International Championship. This is going to be like my match of the night, really, because the thing about this is that this is different from all the other matches. We've not seen these guys wrestle. Powerhouse Hobbs needs to come back strong. Takeshita is one of my favorite wrestlers. The Blue Thunder Bomb is a cool move. He's a badass. I really want to see them have a really, really great match. And this match feels new and it feels really fresh. Some of these are repeat matches. Some of these are matches with a storyline that's been going on for too long. Takeshita versus Hobbs feels very, very fresh. And to go off tangent for a second, this is why I want to see Top Flight versus Private Party, or Private Party versus the Acclaim on that card. That works, really, because that would feel a little new and fresh, really. But in this match, I really think that Takeshita is going to retain for a couple of reasons. He's having a match where he's defending the title in Japan. So it doesn't look good if he's losing a title right here in Florida and he's going to go to Japan with one less title. The other thing is that Hobbs versus Takeshita is new. So Hobbs going through the Don Callis family would be a great reintroduction, rebuilding of Hobbs, really. So I don't think that giving him the title right now is good, but it should happen at Revolution, the latest, I would say. So he starts up the year kind of strong, really. I think that Takeshita should win this match, but Hobbs should actually get the title at Revolution, and then you kind of do Hobbs versus the Hurt Syndicate. I think that that's what you do with this. But I predict Takeshita to retain. This is a match I'm looking forward to. So I think with every match that I see, there's something that I look forward to. So it's a good card. The last match is Mercedes Moné, CEO versus Chris Statlander. So this is another match where they need to make the right decision, and I don't think they're going to make the right decision. My prediction is that Mercedes Moné is going to beat Chris Statlander. The problem is two things. That Mercedes Moné is not good on the microphone. She's kind of hurt the ratings, and the women's division needs to make some very drastic changes. They need to get past Mariah May and Toni Storm. They need to get past Mercedes Moné because she's been holding that championship, I think, over 6 months. There's not a lot of people who talk about the women's division in AEW. So you have to do new and creative directions. Like I've said, what would have happened if you do Thunder Rosa winning and then Thunder Rosa versus Marina Shafir, and then you do something like Chris Statlander wins, and then maybe she turns heel, or you have Chris Statlander get attacked by another woman, and that woman joins the Moxley faction, or you bring back Kong, and you have Kong join the Hurt Syndicate as the female thing, or you find, another, wrestler that would fit the Hurt Syndicate very well. Maybe even Nyla Rose, something like that, really. There's something that they can kind of do to kind of give you, have Chris Statlander win and see who she's feuding with, to kind of do something. So I really, really think that could be a thing, really. But I do think the stupid thing that they're going to do is they're going to have Mercedes Moné retain. She's not getting over. She's just like Jericho. She has star power, but she's not getting over. It's not helping anybody. So you need to get to a point where you say enough is enough. We have to give it to somebody else for a while. Have Mercedes Moné, feud with somebody else, really. Maybe feud with Athena for the ROH women's title. At Grand Slam, and then maybe have Athena, have Mercedes Moné hold it, and then she's on both ROH and AEW television, and then you put Athena on AEW television. So that might be a good refreshing. But I think that for the best thing for them to do is give it to Chris Statlander, but I'm going to give it to Mercedes Moné. So I'll go over it again. Ospreay's going to win. Ricochet's going to win. Ospreay's going to become the Continental Classic champion. Moxley is going to retain. MJF is going to retain. Mariah May is going to retain. Takeshita is going to retain. Chris Statlander is going to retain. And Mercedes Moné is going to retain. Because I really think with AEW, like I've said, that one of their big issues is that they're kind of running into the Roman Reigns type of thing, where they don't feel comfortable being experimental and trying new things, really. I think that they need to have new people win titles. They need to set up new storylines and new angles. And like I've said, that this is World's End. And World's End, to me, is a pay-per-view where you say, old feuds end, new feuds start. And the emphasis on new feuds is also within Revolution. So I really, really, really hope that they really think about their booking decisions and what they want to do. I also feel that they have matches on the card that they're going to add. I think Commander doing an open challenge would be a good match. Him and Brian Cage could be something. Maybe get back to Brian Cage. I do think that you need to have Top Flight versus Action Andretti and another member. I do think that you need to also do something where it should be either like Private Party versus the Acclaimed, separate Max Caster and Anthony Bowens, and that leads to another match. But, they have elements to make a really great pay-per-view. It ultimately comes down to the decisions that they're going to make. Are they going to make some dumbass decisions? Is it going to be the same old shit, or are they going to do new things? And then, as I said, that I think Kenny Omega is going to come back tomorrow, and some other stars. So if they bring those people back, they have to kind of make sure that they lead into other really great things for the show, really. And really great storylines. Like I said, I think that Daniel Garcia versus Adam Copeland at Grand Slam, that's perfection, really. I think that getting to Anthony Bowen versus Max Caster, that's perfection. I think that you need to get Private Party versus Top Flight, and you need to get that out of the way. And you can even do like a best of 5 type of thing. And then they have a final match at Grand Slam, and then you kind of do MJF and Wardlow versus Private Party, and then you have Private Party and a couple other teams go after Wardlow and MJF. I think that's good. And then, as I said, that I really think that, you need to really think about your World Heavyweight title and think about the feud that you're telling. Orange Cassidy versus Moxley is not good. Darby Allin should be in this. But if he's going to fuck around and go to a Mount Everest, I really think you need to have... You eventually need to get to a point where it's Moxley versus Will Ospreay, or you need to have like Moxley versus maybe Hobbs, or maybe you have something where Christian loses the briefcase and it's Luchasaurus versus John Moxley, or you have Samoa Joe come back, or Bryan Danielson come back, or Kenny Omega come back. There has to be something that you do with John Moxley, but if you don't do anything, or Eddie Kingston, like those things that I would like to see. I would like to see even Eddie Kingston versus John Moxley, if that could happen. But there has to be something really big for John Moxley if you're going to put the title on him. And you also have to take Team AEW, and you need to get rid of that. Get rid of everybody in that, the Dark Order and whoever. It needs to be like Miro. It needs to be Miro. It needs to be maybe Jay Lethal and a few other people from ROH that you promote to the main roster. Commander could be in it. You could also put, Ricky Starks and a couple of other people. So, they really need to freshen things up with this pay-per-view. Or they want to keep something continuing. They need to say, okay, we're continuing this, but we're going to put, we're going to put some excitement on this, as well, really. So it's a major pay-per-view. It's definitely one of those pay-per-views that, like I said, it really kind of dictates the direction that they're going to do in 2025. And just remember what happened at the Nassau Coliseum last year, where they did the reveal of the devil. It was Adam Cole. They didn't follow that up, and it really went to shit, really. And they won worst storyline for the year. So they really need to look at this and be like, okay, this really has to be, this has to really appeal to all of us. This has to be something that's going to make the fans happy. This is going to say, okay, AEW has a great direction for 2025. Because if it doesn't do that, I'm sorry, I'm a little ADD. But if it doesn't do that, what's going to happen is that they're going to hemorrhage more viewers. And as Ochiro Central said, they just lost Rampage. Maybe we're going to talk about losing Collision at the end of next year. Maybe we're going to talk about losing Dynamite in 2026, really. So this is kind of maybe their last chance pay-per-view.